Everyone. Welcome to your daily update for BTC and SOL. Thank you actually too, because we've hit 440 subscribers, so that's pretty awesome. I think we're pretty close to 100 videos as well, so we'll keep these coming every day, and let me know in the comments whether you're winning more or losing less or whatever, and any other info or any videos you want me to make, education or whatever, just chuck it in the comments, let me know. All right, let's have a look at this liquidity. So the 1 day liquidity is starting to look bullish again, so people are feeling like this is going to go to the moon, so they're longing. We have hit that 114 level, and we had a little rejection off that on BTC. It wasn't much. It sort of pulled back, $800,000 or whatever. But we still have that 115 level that the trend is trying to move to the hold on. So I don't think we're going to see much more downside from that 114 just yet. As for SOL, it's got this big cluster all the way up here to about 228, 229. I'll show you something today. I think we're probably going to see a rejection from around that 228. It's probably one of the first areas that might be worth shorting, even though I don't know if I'd really recommend shorting something that's just showing this much strength currently. If it was to go to the downside, then the lower end of the 1 day liquidity would be around that 210 mark. But I don't know whether, like, if the actual structure of the short that might come in around that 228 really only brings it down to about 218. So I don't know if it'll keep going down or whether we'll just keep looking bullish and have these really shallow retraces. For BTC, if it was to do a dip, it would wipe out all the 1 day liquidity by going down and touching that 108 key area again. So if we look at the 7 day, okay, 7 day is looking bullish on both. It's kind of good that it's starting to be like this, because you want BTC and SOL to be in sync. It's very hard to trade a coin that is out of sync. But it's sort of showing the same things. We're seeing up to that 115 K area, and anything down to sort of 108, and then if it was to do a real big dip, then it comes all the way down to that sort of 106 area on BTC. And for SOL, pretty much just that 7 day liquidity flat lines at 229. There just isn't really much up past that. But you can see to the downside there is a pile of it. It could dive all the way down to 200 if it really wanted to, 200, 198. And now looking at the 30 day, so 30 day is still a wee bit out of whack. 190 is sort of the bottom end of the liquidity there on SOL. But again, it's pretty much all gone by the time it gets to that 229 area. So the 30 day positions are definitely, there's a lot more longs in there than there are shorts. They have taken out a few of the shorts as well in the last 24 hours with that little pump we had. For BTC, that sort of would be about 105K to the downside, and anything up to about 120 to the upside. With maybe the option there of doing a sort of blow off top, but don't really want to see that yet. We sort of want to see the downside get taken, and we want to see a sustainable move up if we're going to get a better high out of these things. Okay, so let's have a look at right, refresh, too many tabs open. Okay, so the liquidity in the short term is basically just showing the same thing as the individual time frame charts. So it's starting to form up there at that 114 level again. So and you got that bit of a gap, and then you got that 115 level. So if they're going to push through to that 115 level, you can see the density that exists there at about 115.6. That's in line with some of the structural moves that are in play. So it may go up there and take that, but like anything, it's not efficient to do it straight away. You'd sort of want to get some of these spaces in between filled. So and to the downside there, there's a lot of leverage piling up down there below 113. So if we keep bouncing around between 113 and 114, or 113 and 115, what happens is people then start to believe that you've got a really strong base, and they'll start to take risks and have their stop losses sitting there, and yet those stop losses are actually within the range, and they can be very easily taken. So at this stage, it looks like we might see continuation and a grab of that 115, but it's like the 114 level. We should see some kind of rejection if we hit that. Looking at SOL, the picture is painted on SOL with this big dense block of liquidations that are coming in there up around 127 to 128, and you've also got all of that 100x leverage that's been left to do its thing while the price has been moving up, and that's all down there about that 118 area. So just keep that in mind and remember that, because let's go look at these charts. When we get to the SOL charts, you'll sort of see why I've drawn these two circles here in this line, because it looks very much like that's going to be a move. Okay, so SOL strength. Yesterday we broke the daily trend, so it moved up to here, and at the moment we're pushing through it. And the next level of rejection on this is going to be somewhere up in here. It's a little bit arguable whether or not this is a touch, but the actual level there is 00.20107, and the previous candle that went in to test it was about 4 at the furthest decimal place lower, so 20103. So on paper that is not retested, so we may push up to that 0.20107 level, and then that could reject us back down. Now it all depends on whether we do it in the next 2 hours or whether we do it after, because if we do it after, it's still a candle that's closed over the top of a break level, and therefore we could still just come back down, retest the backside of the trend, retest the break level, and bounce again, and then go for one of these higher levels. And we do have an origin level on the daily sitting there at 20675, so it's also massively extended away from trend. Like the problem with where the price currently sits on SOL is it could just keep pumping, because all it has to do is close where it is now. It doesn't technically move the trend, but it's got some horizontals that it can bounce off, and it's got the backside of the trend it can bounce off if it wants to be bullish, and it's got targets it can go to, so it can just keep moving up. But the problem is it's so far away from its diagonal support that if it does reject nicely or badly, however you want to put it, depending on whether you're short or long, if it does reject off some of these levels, then it could also take quite a big fall, because although it can bounce off this break level, it's not a hard close break level, and although it can bounce off the backside of this trend, it's not a hard close trend. So the only genuine hard close support is this uptrend coming through here, and that's a decent fall back down. So looking at the monthly, just on that, this still really is still quite a concern, really, because although, like I say, we're really pumping on SOL, we are going to run into this monthly rejection level, and the only support for that is all the way back down here in that 18137 sort of area on the range trend, or we go to the hard close break level there at 17770. So it just this is the kind of thing where every time I sort of see this on a chart, and then I look in groups and I look on X, and everybody's talking about SOL's going to go to the moon and it's just going to keep pumping, and definitely the structure is there to do that. Like I'll put my hand up and say I'm looking at some of these charts and thinking, okay, SOL could break through 300, maybe even go higher. But at the same time, when everybody starts to get overconfident is normally when these resistances get hit, and then you'll get a flush of all the people that have finally got that confidence to rush into a big long. So just play it carefully. You'll make more money long term if you're not greedy. Okay, strength assets. Okay, so we are bouncing off the break level. we're up above the trend. We're not hard closing anything. We have got that 65% level up there to go do a retest. Of course, if this does start to go up, this means, you know, weakness in alts. So it may also just run into that origin level there, which is basically all about that same number. Yeah, so 65% is pretty much the key number for a retest on this. If it was to go up to there, it'd be retesting the backside of broken trends. It would be retesting an origin level. It would be retesting a hold level. Everything is up there to reject it. So if we do get this dump in alts because this decides to go up to do a retest, that all just lines up really, and then once this hits all this resistance, it should reject, and then that might give you that push up. Geez, BNB nearly 900, nice. Okay, and the weekly is still below, yeah, still below its long-term trend. So if this thing cracks and loses this in the next 4 days, then yeah, beautiful alt season. All right, over to totals. So totals are up above the break level, and they're rejecting off the previous range break level. So again, it's just in one of those spots where if it just moves up a little bit before the end of the day, it's up. It ends up with the ability to push back up into that higher range. But where it is now, it's likely it could just bounce and chop. Nothing's hard closed, so it could come back all the way back down to the support trends again. So it is, has it? Yeah, it's retested that level through there at about 346. So yeah, it's just a little push up over that 356.55 changes things a lot because it's then back up in this higher range. But yeah, if it closes here, it could just bounce off the backside of that again and then target back down to the trend, and that would mean a dip across the board. So yeah, pretty key level really to see where that closes. It doesn't shift any trends or anything else, and it surprises me actually that it's not already sort of pulling back. I mean, it's pulled back from up there in that range, and that's a little bearish because you if you're going to take a dive, you typically sweep liquidity from the higher range and then you take a dive. So it's a little bit bearish the way it's wicked up into there and come back down again. But yeah, a lot can change in 2 hours. So we'll see how that closes. And if we look at it from the other direction, so not balanced against the DXY, this is going to shift trend today. So if this closes like this, trend will move to there. That will potentially reject from about 3.6 and then come all the way back down to this hold level at about 3.58. So that's sort of implying a pullback. So that's probably the first really good evidence that we're going to see some kind of pullback. Okay, let's have a look at Bitcoin. Right, so Bitcoin is overextended through its trend. It's going to create a hold level down here at 112. That'll give it the ability to sort of chop around. And yet it is going to be back up inside that range, that older range from August. So this has got the ability, if it wanted to be really bullish, it can bounce off the 113 area and it can push up and target that upper range, which would allow it to move potentially as high as 116 before it hits that next range. If it was to pull back down below the 113.309 before the close of day, which is only a few $100, if it pulled back down, then more than likely what would happen is it would reject and come back down to retest the break at 112 or the new hold that's going to be established in there. It could also trick everybody really, because another thing that can happen in this sort of instance is you could have another 1 day of upwards momentum, and because that would then move the trend. So let's just hypothetically say it does that and it moves the trend all the way up here. Well, if it then closes with a wick and pushes against the backside of that trend, it can come all the way down to the hold that it's creating now. So that's that might get a lot of people chasing longs and then dump. So there's a little bit of, maybe it's setting up a trap. We have got news and stuff that's gonna kick in the next couple of days. So yeah, maybe. Okay. So the 2-day did come up and test that hold. So this is that little rejection. It's holding really well, like amazingly well actually. So it closed over the top of the range trend. It bounced off that. It's gone back up. It's hit the hold. That's done. So my TP kicked in when I was asleep and has TP'd that, but it's not breaking the trend. So it's not closing today either. So this thing could still pull back. So if they create that trap on the 1-day and reject, what that means is on the 2-day, this candle ends up pulling back down before it closes. So it's yeah, all these time frames work together. So we have an 11-day close today, and it's going to create some kind of downtrend like this once it closes. So same thing applies. It really, the relevance of this close is all about whether or not it creates a hold level, whether there's a wick on the top of the candle. So you want the day to close above 112.821. That would be a great close. In fact, if it just closes where it is now, it's really good because it can open on the other side of the trend and bounce off the hold, and it can target the backside of this broken trend up here, and that could get you a push through to anything. It depends how quick it does it, because obviously that's a moving scale. But if it does it later into the period, then that's a 120, 119 retest. If it does it really early in the period, then the trend line will be a lot closer, and you'd have to look at that on the daily really to see where it's actually sitting. But gee, we're so far through it, it's actually not even showing up. Why is that not showing up? Yeah, technical difficulties with TradingView. Okay, so yep, that line does not show up. Please hold callers. Just draw the line on here and see if it shows up. Gotta love TradingView. Okay, there it is. And so that would be on that daily. Yeah, it's still up there. It's sort of around 119, so that's possible. Yeah, we create a hold level, we approach it from the other side of the trend, we bounce. Yeah, we could get that. So things just got more exciting, really. It's so much easier to do swings in this market right now than it is to do anything else. Okay, 23-day close. What do we have? Just when you thought it was all bullish. So on the 23-day, we are still moving our way towards this 117 target. So it's going really slowly, but this is a long that's in play, and I have a TP sitting up there somewhere. However, what it looks like it might be going to do is if it opens here, it's going to open on the underside of this trend that's running through here, and then it could just reject off that and go down. This trend is the kind of thing that is capable of stopping that long from being able to move freely to that target. So yeah, if we close under that trend, I might just TP that long and just see if we actually get a better entry. Also, this hasn't actually retested this range down here at 107, so very, very tricky. It stopped a couple $100 before the retest, so yeah, it stopped yeah, $150, $200 below the $200 away from the retest. So this may actually, it would really have to get over that $1,400 area to be above that trend. And if it isn't, then yeah, it could reject off the backside of that and then come down here and give a dive. So that's potentially part of any kind of reset or dump that may come up. Yeah. And just a few of the other time frames that are still in play, even though they don't close today, but you know, these things like the 12-day, that's still trying to get up to here to that $1,500 mark, and that's why I mentioned that density of liquidity at the beginning, because we've got these hold levels that are sitting up here. We've bounced off these trends. The target is these hold levels. It's just creeping really slowly, which is part and parcel really of the market. Just doesn't know what to do right now. Go up, go down. It just has no idea. But yeah, stuff like this are trying to come up to these levels. It's just slow. Same thing. There's your 17. So bounced off the support. It's got to push its way through this trend because it's just taking too long. So the resistance is building, but it's still trying to get up to that 17,800 level. And there's another 1503 level. And again, it's just spent too much time down here. So it's ended up opening under one trend, but above another. And so now it's sort of struggling to try and push through that trend to get to that 1500 level. So it's the basic gist of price action is if it spends too much time down, things form above it that it then has to struggle to get through. So too much time down is harder to go up. Fast down, fast up is bullish, but fast down and sideways, not always. So again, 117 levels, but from the wrong side of trend, so it's trying to get up there. It hasn't used these hold levels down here yet either, so you know, 106s. So this backside of this trend here on BTC is trying to send the price down here to this 106, but the fact that it touched the trend, created a hold level, it's trying to push up to the hold level, so it's just stuck in the middle. You could pretty much guarantee that a short's going to win eventually and a long's going to win also. So this is, yeah, the bigger stuff we won't worry too much about. All right, SOL. Okay, so SOL on the daily is overextended through its trend. It hasn't managed to retest the backside of the hard close trend above, and we've got a hold level kicking in there at 228. So this 228 area, which is in here, it's actually a 2-day hold level that shows up on exchanges, basically made up of these two candles. And the chances of that rejecting, it's probably the best level. So if you're in a bad short and trying to get out, right, it's probably the best level that exists in the near term of price to actually average and get out. So just have a keep an eye on what price does when it's up inside there. Because the daily is well and truly extended beyond its supports, the first support really that would hold this up, if it closes up around here, is going to be something like this broken break level, which is around this 220 mark. But it's not hard close, so it then becomes the trend. It then becomes the next break level at 218, and then it's not until you actually get all the way down here, it's sort of around 213, you actually have hard close levels that haven't had retests yet. So it could go all the way down there if we see some weakness, but otherwise it's just going to bounce off the backside of this trend and then go up and then break the trend and move the trend, and it's just going to keep repeating until it finds something big enough to reject it. So but yeah, up inside that level would be the first place. Adding to your shorts before that is probably a bit pointless. Okay, so now looking at the 2-day on TradingView, which is different from the 2-day on the exchange, that gives us this hold level here at 226.9. So anything back up past that could create a rejection, but I'd be more inclined to go with the level that exists on the exchange, which has confluence with the 1-day structure, which is also because there's only a single candle after this hold level here on the 2 days. So that's not really a proper range. So this short down here was fine. This was a great short because you had a 2-day range. We hit that, we took a dump, we went all the way back down to the range trend. So this is good. That's the kind of structure you want to see and the kind of thing you want to short. This looks off on this. Doesn't look right, but certainly a couple of dollars up into that is when you run into the daily. It's when you run into the 2-day that exists on the exchange. So I will be taking profits up inside that area. Okay, and then we've got the 3-day. So the 3-day is bouncing off the trend. It's trying to come up here to this 234 area. But we'll just park that there because we'll show you the monthly soon. Okay. 4-day, it's just trying to push up. There's an old range breakthrough here, which is already hard closed. It's kind of confluent with that 228.9 area, but it's not really resistance. But we also haven't hard closed or retested these 210, 208 levels. And we've got 3 days to go on that candle. So most of these are just trying to push up, really. Okay, we've got the 9-day, which is pushing into resistance. If it can stay up for the next 8 days, then it can reject down and retest these levels. Or it can open on the other side of the trend and just keep moving up. So this is looking pretty bullish if it stays around there. Okay, 11-day close today. So this one's an interesting one because it's a hard close of quite a few things. So we're a hard close of excuse the joke all over the chart. I think I've got some writing all over this chart. Different trends. So it's back up above one of the very old trends that has moved now, but it's back up above that, which is a bit of a plus. It's breaking an interior downtrend today, and it's sitting above a range trend really close at the moment. So it's in a bit of a position where if it can pull back just a little bit before the end of the day, it may reject off the backside of this, and that could create some of the retests that need to happen. But the thing is, if it pushes up even 50 cents from where it is now, then it's going to be over top of this range trend, and it could just bounce off the top side of that range trend then and continue up. And our next sort of resistance level for that is up here in those 240s. So that's really just on the line of either another pump or pull back a little bit before the end of the day, and you might get your retests. So that's, and then when we look at the 23-day, well, the 23-day close today is potentially going to be back up inside one of the very old trends that was previously broken. It's been retested, it's had a dump, it's got back up above it. It looks like it might close up above this trend today. However, it is a bit of a tricky one because you've also got a range trend coming through, and so the price might close above the normal trend and below the range trend today, and that could actually kick in that rejection. So SOL looks really bullish, but it's a little bit tricky where it's sitting, and you certainly can't mortgage your house on it right now. You could open like a low leverage. You could even buy spot here and just know that it's going to be higher than this before the end of the cycle. But the thing is, it's in a bit of a tricky position where we could easily reject from here, which is why I want to show you the monthly. Sorry about that. That's our get out of jail card for bad shorts. Okay, so here's a monthly. So we have not hard closed the monthly downtrend yet. We haven't hard closed the monthly range trend yet, but we are creeping towards the monthly break level at 234. So if we hit that break level, there's a really high chance of rejection, and our trends are really far away. So this is one of those things where could we see a big shift in the strength of SOL? Are they lining up to do some kind of big sweep of all of that liquidity that exists? Because if we flip back to that 30-day, where were we? 30-day liquidity chart. If we just flip back there, there's a lot of stuff to take down there, right? And there's not a lot left to take up there. So it's quite early in the month, 20 days to go, but they could push up into this. And we have got this kind of origin level sitting above there at 243 on the monthly. These are some big levels. The support for them is a long way down. And the only real way to actually flip these is to get over top of them and stay over top of them until next month, and then you can bullishly bounce off the back of it. But the thing that just concerns me about the way price is moving at the moment is we're going to run into this stuff, and if we go back to that monthly SOL BTC chart, we're also going to run into this at some point. Now, if we hit these two things at the same time, you'll potentially be hitting a rejection level at a monthly scale on SOL, and you'll be hitting a rejection level on the strength versus BTC as well. And we know we've got those hold levels for rejections staggered basically from 115, 116, 117, and then we've got origin levels at 119. There's a really good chance that this thing can absolutely go down and take that lower liquidity if the perfect storm of all that rejection stuff just kind of comes in at the same time. So yeah, that's what I'm watching. A couple other random little charts I've just thrown in here. Let's have a look. So SUI still going towards its target, so plan hasn't changed, just gonna swing this thing until it hits 3.8. If you want to hold it a bit longer, then you could target the break level up here at like 4.3, or any of the trend retests, which are going to be closer to 4.5 or 4.8. But I'm just going to take profits there. NA, just see if it comes back down. Other than that, it's just taunting me. Slightly lower time frame. If you are looking for an entry on SUI, if you're thinking, okay, well, if it does pull back, we've got the daily trend. It's well and truly extended from the daily trend. We're going to get a daily hold level today, and we're also going to be above the range trend. So yeah, if it comes back down, you could look to enter on the daily hold, and just scalp it initially as a smaller scalp. So find your entry in here, take your entry anywhere inside this candle, TP some here at the 3.54, and then just set your stop loss at break even, and then see if you can ride it up to the monthly. So that's, you can potentially get back in on that if we do have a dip on it. And good old World Liberty Finance. So it's bounced off the trend, so we kind of missed this trade really. I was hoping it would come down to the hold level or dive the trend to the hold level and then go up to test the backside of the range, but it just bounced off the trend and went to the backside of the range, so that's kind of over and done with. But if this closes as a yellow candle today, you'll get an interior downtrend, which it may reject and go to that hold level, and so you may still be able to get an entry down here and run it back up to the trend, but for the moment, there's not much going on there. ZEUS, I looked at this because Marty keeps shilling it on his YouTube or Twitter or whatever, and so this has already had its cycle So this is the first distribution phase. That's your markup. That was your trade. Ever since then, it's gone through another cycle, but there's no guarantee that things pump twice. It kind of comes down to the greed of the people involved. There are guys like Andrew Kang and stuff like that in behind this thing, so it is possible that the greed is sufficient to have a secondary pump back up to the trend here. It's gone through enough stages of the cycle. If it starts to show, some kind of weekly regain of this level, so it's just it had this distribution close just below the weekly level down here at like 1391. So that's a really bad sign. But what it then did was it created that range trend. So the target for that range trend is going to be this little doji hold up here at about 18 cents. So it is possible that it goes up to there and then that's it, and then it tanks and loses the trend and it goes to zero, who knows. But if they are going to reverse this and have another little selfish money grab, then they might drive it all the way back up to this trend around 73 cents. So yeah, it's probably worth keeping an eye on. That will be the mother of all origin levels there at 98 cents, so I probably wouldn't try to take it past that. But the back side of this candle at 68 cents has been tested. All the stuff through here has been tested. Basically, it's tested the back side of that range. It's tested the back side of that range. Yeah, so it may build this range trend, test that 18-cent level, and then if it breaks the break level, which is 22 cents, 22.50, if it breaks the break level, yep, maybe they're going to give it another run up. So we'll see if the shilling intensifies, but pretty much the main shilling will probably kick in if the price gets back up into here, and that's when it'll dump. So yeah, Iron Cook. And Cook, yeah, it had a bit of a dump, bounced off the backside of the trend. It's pushed back up now. Looks like it's going to create possible hold level, but I'd say this thing is going to just keep going up until it retests that area at the top there. So there's a few trades that I'm in and just low leverage swings, etc. There's a couple other things there I'm looking at, but yeah, let me know if there's anything else you want to see or me to chart up, and yeah, we'll like, subscribe, and we'll catch you again. Cheers, bye.